Clemson leaving the ACC is a new explosion of expansion, but you'll be shocked to know who pulled the pen. This is Locked On Big 12.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Big 12. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. Happy March Madness. Today we kick things off, but we've got to talk expansion first. We're going to get into the March, but Clemson leaving the ACC explodes expansion, but it wasn't exactly the same as why Florida State left the ACC. It wasn't exactly the same catalyst of Oklahoma and Texas leaving the Big 12, or even the Big 12 adding the Pac-12 schools and why that fell. All of that had to do so primarily with TV contracts and TV money. This, for the first time, has more to do with the College Football Playoff Committee. What we learned in the last week is now the ACC and the Big 12 will make nearly half as much money per school as the SEC and the Big 10. We've clearly defined that those two are the power conferences. Fine, great, keep it. Whatever. The ACC's implosion is because Clemson is valuable to somebody else in the 2028 look-in. What you just heard was mumbo jumbo. Let's unpack it. When it was agreed upon to set the college football playoff revenue where it is and give those two power conferences more money, Brett Yormark and others begged, add a look-in clause. That look-in clause means that in 2028, we will revisit how valuable these conferences are. And if the Big 12 deserves more money than what it is getting, the Big 12 will get more money. If the ACC deserves more money than it's getting, they'll get more money. And here is the biggest problem with that. If the Big 10 and the SEC deserve more money with the look-in clause, they're going to get more money. So while Yormark was, in essence, betting on himself, saying, fine, I'll take less money now. I have to sit on my hands. What else am I going to do? Give me the opportunity to expand by 2028 and improve things. What the SEC and the Big 10 also got was an opportunity to expand by 2028 and improve things. For those two leagues that are evenly matched right now from a revenue standpoint, adding Clemson is going to set one above the other. I do not believe that Clemson would file a lawsuit against the ACC saying, if and when we leave, I mean, they're going to go, if and when we leave, we don't feel like we have to pay your grant of rights or that we have to be stuck in your media rights deal. With that, they wouldn't do it if a suitor wasn't there. The Big 10 of the SEC wasn't saying, oh, wait a second, if we expand by 2028, if we add Clemson by 2028, we become more valuable. And recent College Football Playoff Committee conversations have put a lot of value on teams that have recently made the college football playoff. Shocking how all of that works. With Clemson being squarely in as a team that is profitable in the playoff era, everyone wants a piece of that. So that in a couple of years, when we say, who wants more money? Who deserves more money? You're going to want to have Clemson in your roster. What else does that mean? Clemson's not last. If Brett Yormark, and this is so true, if Brett Yormark learns tomorrow, hey, wait a second, if adding Louisville by 2028 gives us more money, we should do, like when that light bulb clicks, I'm sure it already has, we should do that. The effort to add those teams that makes the Big 12 more profitable becomes the only effort of the conference. Now you are looking for expansion in the ACC the same way you were in the Pac-12. The idea then, this is the craziest part of this whole deal for me. The idea then, in like August when the Big 12 said, hey, fine, we'll add Utah, Colorado, Arizona State, was let's bolster our TV contracts moving forward with ESPN. Let's become a more profitable conference for the idea of how we sit with this TV deal and could sit in years moving forward with our TV deals and new contracts. Now it is, how much more money can we not just make from a TV deal, but can we make from the college football playoff? If the ACC falls apart, okay, now that revenue that they're making out of the playoff goes elsewhere. If the Big 12 is taking their teams and ESPN says, wait a second, Louisville's profitable, and now Louisville's over in the Big 12, we will give you more money because you have Louisville based on this college football playoff revenue. If the college football playoff says, oh, wait a second, ESPN moved Louisville over there so that they can make more money off of that property in the Big 12. Well, now the Big 12 is worth more money itself, so we're going to give you more money. And guess who the college football playoff is run by? The TV networks. And guess which TV network is right at the king of all of it? ESPN. In essence, while this is all connected, while the TV network is at the very base level truly responsible for what you're seeing in college football expansion, it is now so tightly intertwined with the college football playoff committee, because when they decide we're going to take revenue shares and increase them into the board of directors, whatever you want to call it, there are multiple different, like sects of this, like a pyramid of the college football playoff hierarchy. When those guys said in 2028, we will give you more money if you're worth more money, that set into motion what you're seeing right now of this new era of expansion. There is like a second new era, right? We were already in the one with Texas and Oklahoma, and it somehow fell all the way down to Washington and Oregon going to the Big Ten. That like put a full stop even on Florida State. And let's enter a new realm where the college football playoff committee says, buddy, by 2028, go be as rich as you can be. Go be as rich and profitable as you can be. Add as many as you can, because right now, here's what we say. You, SEC, Big Ten, you're right even. You're dead even. Hey, you, Big 12, ACC, you're about half as profitable as those two. By 2028, you think you could expand some more and be better? What about realignment could happen between now and then that makes you... So the ACC is going to get poached. They're the weakest of those four conferences. The Big 12, and this is truly what sets the Big 12 apart, has depth. Like UCF's a sleeping giant. They can become Clemson. 10 years of consistent winning, they're Clemson. You go to Utah, a couple of Pac-12 championships back-to-back. BYU, the flagship university of an entire religion. Then you go to like some classic Big 12 teams. TCU going to a college football playoff championship and what they could bring you from a revenue standpoint. Very profitable school, very profitable athletic department. Texas Tech, what they could possibly give you. What could Oklahoma State give you? What could Kansas State, Iowa State, Kansas? Those schools aren't sexy, but 10 years of consistent winning, and they can be. And top to bottom, there are no Boston colleges, there are no Syracuse, there are no Wake Forest. There are multiple teams in the ACC that are grasping at straws to stay alive from a brand standpoint. There are multiple schools in the Big Ten that are grasping to stay alive from a brand standpoint. Like they don't have the depth, the breadth of the Big 12. And the SEC kind of has that problem to an extent too, because at the very bottom end of their conference, you look at like a South Carolina and say, revenue standpoint, they're kind of a Big 12 team. Vanderbilt, geez, this is not giving us a whole lot of money athletically, and that's what's going to matter in the college football. They don't care if you're nerds when it comes to the college football playoff committee and that board of directors. They care if you're going to make them money, if ESPN's going to make money. That being said, the ACC goes away. Louisville becomes a property of the Big 12. You got all kinds of middle of the pack ACC teams that are looking to get somewhere else. And if the Big 10 and the SEC turn away and the Big 12 is able to pick them up, I foresee the SEC wants to get ahead of the Big 10. The Big 10 wants to get ahead of the SEC. Everybody wants to be number one and make as much money as possible. If that is what kills college athletics, they don't care. They don't care. But buddy, let me tell you what, the Big 10, the SEC have all the money right now, but the Big 12 has an avenue to close the gap by 2028 because the death of the ACC spreads out more revenue to a conference like the Big 12, and you have opportunities to expand with teams that are profitable out of that league. We have just entered the death of the ACC for a completely different reason, than why I thought we would. In the end, it wasn't this very bad grant of rights. It was the SEC and the Big 10 want to win an arms race by 2028 when the college football playoff refigures its revenue distribution. That's mind-blowing, man. What? This is March on Locked On Big 12, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's show is brought to you by Nissan. I love Nissan. You know why I love Nissan? Because I drive a Nissan. The Nissan Armada is spectacular, though I drive a Maxima, and I like the Maxima too. Today, you can get an Armada. It's kind of like the UConn Huskies. They're described as an Armada, the top-seeded team, as hardcore as it gets. No matter where they've landed, they're the top overall seed in the NCAA tournament. They're one of the favorites to win it all, despite 4 of the Power 6 champions being in their way in the East region. The Armada is just as strong as the UConn Huskies. Take the Nissan Rogue, Nissan Pathfinder, or Armada and go find your next big adventure at shopnissanusa.com. Again, that is at shopnissanusa.com. Go find your new Armada. I think you're really going to like it. Today's show is also brought to you by FanDuel. And I've told you guys, I've been telling you guys, FanDuel is the place that I go to make money. I like money. You probably like money. And if you're anything like me in the money category, you will go to FanDuel and help expand your money. FanDuel.com/locked on. Put a $5 bet on literally anything, on any of the Jazz you want to put a $5 bet on. And if it hits, you get $200 in bonus bets. Otherwise, some people know it's free play. You snag that sucker, and it's going to be all right for you. FanDuel.com is the place you want to go today during March Madness to get paid. FanDuel.com/locked on. Visit that. Trust me, it will be worth it. The perfect bracket in the NCAA tournament is impossible until now. It's me, UConn. I'm going to take you through every one of my picks for the NCAA tournament, including the Big 12 teams and how deep they will go. UConn over Stetson, easy. FAU over Northwestern. We're going to go speed round. San Diego State over UAB and Auburn over Yale. Nothing crazy so far. We get our first Big 12 team with BYU and Duquesne. Many of you could not have pronounced Duquesne until this very weekend. BYU is a 9-point favorite. That line was, I think, 7.5. Now it's up to 9. They will kill Duquesne. Then Illinois will beat Morehead State. In round of 32 action, will BYU beat Illinois? We'll get there in a second. Drake over Washington State's our first major upset of 10 over 7. Iowa State over South Dakota State. Not even funny. It's going to happen. North Carolina over Howard or Wagner easily. Michigan State over Mississippi State, a 9 over 8. If you want a perfect bracket, pick that. Grand Canyon, 12 over a 5. I like a lot of 12s this year, my friends. Hopefully you do too. Alabama and Charleston. I've seen Charleston as a popular pick. Alabama's going to win it. New Mexico, the 11 seed, will knock off 6 seed Clemson. Their net rating is better than Clemson's. They're a top 25 net team. New Mexico off to the round of 32. Baylor and Colgate. It's the toothpaste boys. Remember they played Arkansas a couple years back? Pretty popular upset pick. I don't have them this year. I got the Baylor Bears moving to the round of 32. Dayton and Nevada. Nevada, a scary pick out of the Mountain West. I still, in my bracket, believe that Dayton's got a good shot to go a long way. Long Beach State. I've seen a lot of my buddies pick Long Beach State over Arizona. That's because they're not basketball experts. I am. Arizona knocks off Long Beach State. Speaking of long things, Houston and Longwood. The past 3 seasons, either a 1 or 2 seed has lost to a team that has some kind of phallical, a phallus within the name, like a St. Peter's or a Fairleigh Dickinson. Houston and Longwood. That trend ends this year. Houston beats Longwood. Oof, barely escaped them. A&M over Nebraska. Nebraska still has never won a game in the NCAA tournament. James Madison, Wisconsin. I think this is my favorite 12 over a 5. James Madison will beat Wisconsin. Take it all the way to the bank. Take it to FanDuel. Duke and Vermont. People like Vermont this year, not I. I am a sicko. I like Duke. Texas Tech, NC State. Another Big 12 team wins. I might have an undefeated slate for Big 12 teams in round 1. A lot of favorable seeds there. Kentucky and Oakland. I've seen a lot of my buddies pick Oakland over Kentucky. That's because they're not basketball experts. Kentucky wins it. Florida and either Boise State or Colorado. That, to me, is an easy pick. I'm going with anyone who's not Florida. By the time of recording this, who has won that play-in game. I don't think either of them will lose to Florida. Marquette and Western Kentucky. Marquette wins it. I have all of my 1 and 2 seeds winning in round 1. Purdue obviously wins in round 1 because they're on that redemption arc. Utah State and TCU. I thought it's a favorable draw for TCU, though they do get Purdue in round 2. I think the Horned Frogs beat Utah State in round 1. Gonzaga and McNeese, because everyone is picking McNeese State to go to the Final Four. I do have Gonzaga winning in round 1. We can't do that. The popular pick, the popular Cinderella is never a Cinderella. Kansas and Samford. This is the one that it sucks. I've told you all along this season, all the Kansas needs is a strong starting 5. A strong starting 5 to win in March. They lost 2 of their best guys. Kevin McCullough's not 100%. Hunter Dickinson's not 100%. Samford's analytics are freaking good. I think Samford does win it. I hate it too, because Kansas at full strength, that starting 5 is a Final Four pick in my book, but they're too banged up, and Samford coming for blood. Kansas might be the only Big 12 team that loses in round 1. Oregon, South Carolina. I still like South Carolina, though the country likes Oregon. Akron and Creighton. Creighton might be an Elite 8 team. Texas and either Virginia or Colorado State. I've got Colorado State getting past Texas in round 1. Another Big 12 team, that's what we're going to call them, going down. And then Tennessee and St. Peter's. Oh, we know that those Cocks they're tough. But I think Tennessee I don't usually trust Rick Barnes in March, but I will here. We'll take you to the round of 32, where a lot of Big 12 teams are still floating around. UConn knocks off Florida Atlantic. San Diego State and Auburn. I like Auburn a lot this season. They're in that trapezoid of excellence, if you've seen that. Auburn advances past San Diego State. It's chalk, the 1 and the 4 here in the East. BYU and Illinois, this is a double-digit win for the BYU Cougars in round 2. If you want a perfect bracket, take BYU to your Sweet 16. Don't blink. Don't think. BYU to the Sweet 16. I like Drake a lot this year. It feels like they're playing with a little bit more house money. They're usually kind of that favorite out of the Mountain Mid-Missouri Valley Conference. They beat Indiana State, which was shocking. I wish their run didn't end here, but Iowa State wins it. BYU and Iowa State meet in the Sweet 16. Michigan State and North Carolina. I think Michigan State's way overrated. Did they deserve to be in March Madness? No. Them and Virginia both, I felt like should have been left out for other members of the field. North Carolina beats Michigan State here probably by 10. Grand Canyon and Alabama. While I do like Bryce Drew a lot. I've had him on the show a couple of times. Alabama is still the better team. I don't think Grand Canyon's there yet to be the Cinderella yet. They lost in round 1, I guess, just a couple of years ago when Baylor was in the tournament and they got to all hang out together at the same location. They're going to lose to Alabama here. Bama makes it the Sweet 16. New Mexico and Baylor, we've got our first major upset from a Big 12 team knocked off. Baylor has lost 2 years consecutively in the round of 32, and they do it again here against a New Mexico team that is grossly underseeded at 11. Baylor lost to an underseeded team in Creighton last year, and underseeded North Carolina the year prior. They lose to an underseeded team again. New Mexico topples Baylor. Dayton and Arizona. I just can't buy Arizona in March, and I think Dayton is a dangerous team. There has to be some chaos somewhere. Dayton over Arizona. Houston slams Texas A&M, a rematch of a tight game. Houston gets the better of them. James Madison and Duke. I still like the Dukes of James Madison over Duke as another one of those double-digit seeds that makes a run here. Texas Tech, Pop Isaacs and company will beat Kentucky. Kentucky does not line up well in the metrics. They play too fast in the trapezoid of excellence. Kentucky's a second-round bounce. Why would we trust Cal? He's been pretty bad the last couple of years. Give me Marquette winning in round 2 as well. If you want a perfect bracket, take Marquette to the Sweet 16. Purdue and TCU, a classic example of TCU playing a team they're overmatched by and getting so close, but losing on like a half-court buzzer beater. Purdue beats TCU. TCU covers. Gonzaga and Samford. I think Gonzaga is a Sweet 16 team again this year. It feels like when they are the underdogs, they win. Everyone's betting against them, so I think they're going to win. Take them over Samford. South Carolina and Creighton. Give me the Blue Jays. They're a very good basketball team this year, and I am taking Colorado State over. That's right. I'm taking Colorado State in my Sweet 16. As we get into the Sweet 16, they beat Tennessee. Rick Barnes, I don't trust Rick Barnes in March. Bet against him. As we get into the Sweet 16, let's tell you about one of our valued sponsors here at Locked On. That valued sponsor is Amazon Fire TV. Amazon Fire TV is where I go to watch these games. If I want to watch today, March Madness, Amazon Fire TV is what I've got pulled up. They're your destination for sports, from live games to highlights to in-depth analysis. Fire TV offers amazing viewing experiences with smart TVs, as well as the Fire Stick that you can use to watch March Madness. Opening weekend for baseball or the tournament right now, Fire TV is the place to go. Right now, all of us at Locked On are on Fire TV channels for free. That's right. Not to mention great news, entertainment, gaming, travel, cooking videos as well. Fire TV channels on Fire TV and Alexa devices. If you haven't checked out Fire TV channels, you should. Trust me. Amazon.com/Locked On Fire TV. Go to Amazon.com/Locked On Fire TV. All right, we're taking you to the Sweet 16. We've still got some Big 12 teams that are floating around in here. UConn and Auburn. Our first 1 seed to go down, UConn, falls to the Auburn Tigers. BYU and Iowa State. Seen this song and dance? BYU probably could have won that game, should have won that game. Some Hilton magic for Iowa State the last time these two teams met. But Iowa State is unbelievably good at the sport of basketball. The analytics love them. Everybody loves them. It is shocking and awesome and crazy and good that BYU gets to the Sweet 16 this year, but that is where the run ends. Thamel, Lipsey, Iowa State, they get the win over BYU. Iowa State is able to control the pace. They were able to keep BYU on a neutral court. BYU's ability to shoot the three will be hampered. On a neutral court, will be hampered. And they're a team that did not go on the road and beat Iowa State because at the very end, the gumption, the Hilton magic, you could argue the officials favored Iowa State. And I think it's going to favor them on a neutral site too, because they are the better team. Who's the better team between BYU and Iowa State? It is Iowa State. BYU should have been a 4 seed. This matchup should not have happened. I've got Iowa State beating BYU. North Carolina, Alabama. I love North Carolina to go deep this year. New Mexico and Dayton. I like New Mexico to go to the Elite 8. Houston, James Madison. Houston is not going to trip. I think they win every game to this point by double digits. They beat James Madison by 12 to 15 points. If you want a perfect bracket, take Houston to your Elite 8. Texas Tech and Marquette. I think Grant McCasland does what Jerome Tang did in year 1 at Kansas State. I think McCasland does that in year 1 at Texas Tech. Jervis Campbell is his favorite musical artist. Texas Tech over Marquette. Shaka Smart and beating Big 12 teams is something he's allergic to. Tech to the Elite 8. Purdue and Gonzaga, this is the Purdue redemption year. Every time a team loses in the first round to a 16 seed, the next year they win a national championship. Then Creighton is finally the team to topple Colorado State. Our Elite 8, Auburn, Iowa State, North Carolina, New Mexico, Houston, Texas Tech, Purdue, and Creighton. If you're keeping score at home, that is 3 Big 12 teams. And the run ends here for Auburn. Iowa State to the Final Four in my bracket. I feel very confident in that pick. The defense is so good. They can't win a national championship because we know that they're outside of that when it comes to the analytic statistic things that says like, oh, the team can't win its conference tournament and still win a national championship. But I can take you to the Final Four. North Carolina, New Mexico. We gassed this matchup up. It's like one of those Sunday games, afternoon, and North Carolina falls. In the last 10 years, 9 tournaments have seen a team seeded 9 or lower in the Final Four. We got a double-digit seed there. New Mexico to the Final Four. Wild. Houston, Texas Tech. Houston wins another game by double digits. This feels like one of that, like the Baylor year or that Villanova year where the team was just mowing through everybody. Houston does it to Texas Tech. But what a year for Grant McCasland and company, falling short of the Final Four just like Jerome Tang did, but at least making it close on the cusp. Then Purdue and Creighton. I told you, when you see a story arc in college basketball in March, you should probably pay very close attention to it. That story arc is Purdue. It is Purdue coming back from losing as a 1 seed and having a hell of a run. Purdue to the Final Four over Creighton. Our Final Four, Iowa State and New Mexico, Houston and Purdue. And you might think I'm a sicko for doing it, but here it is. I have an all Big 12 national championship game. You can say that I'm a homer. You can. That's fine. You can say that I'm a homer here. I do think Auburn's got a good shot. They're my kind of a backup pick here if they beat Iowa State. But this is a 1 and a 2 seed. 2 of the best teams in the country. Analytically, 2 of the best teams in the country. The 2 best defenses in the country. And I value defense in March. 2 of the best starting 5s. I need you. If your starting 5 plays 38 minutes apiece, that's it. That's fine. I just need you to win a couple games in a weekend. And I think these are the 2 teams that can do it. Iowa State and Houston meet in the national championship in a rematch of the Big 12 championship. That's your storyline. And the Houston Cougars, Kelvin Sampson, analytics point to me, 4 teams that have a real shot. Auburn, UNC, Purdue, and Houston. Those are the 4 teams that, based on historical analytics, have the best chance to win a national championship based on KenPom and scheduling and where you ranked here during this week. And do you have, on a Sunday, if you have a big man who's 7'4" who has 7 rebounds at any point in this season, you'll win a national championship. All those things point to those 4 schools. Houston is your national champion. If you want money, if you like money, bet on Houston now to win the national championship, to go to the Final Four and win March Madness. I think this is finally it. LJ Cryer gets his 2nd, and the Houston Cougars win it all. How many total points? 127. A low-scoring, gross, awful game. That's it. That is my bracket. How fun is that, guys? Did you have a lot of fun? That's the perfect bracket right there. Yay! Houston, national championship, Big 12. Butte. This has been, it always will be. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. It's going to be a wild day today. Let's watch some hoops. I'm on a cruise right now, by the way. That's how this was recorded with Colorado State and Virginia not being played yet. But Colorado State, they won that game, right? They had to have. Locked on. Thanks for making it your first listen every single day. No se grande.